Hi, everybody. I'm sorry about the delay. We're having issues with Spectrum, which is nothing new here in Florida. And if hopefully we'll have a reasonably uninterrupted program today. I hope that's the case. I've tried resetting everything, but some things are just on their end. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Joining me today is the Black Cow of Death, who is making a guest appearance on the program today, but not for the reason that you think. So stop that. Stop that now. Today, I want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. We have the luxury of having no Browns game to waste our time on this weekend. And rather than guessing who's going to get fired, which is about all the press can do right now, I want to take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers and explain to you why I'm interested and captivated by this team. And it isn't just a 9-0 record. That's the fruits of the labor. But let's talk about a series of things that has made it good. And then let's take a look at a bigger scheme, because people always get ahead of themselves and pretty much do the same shit. Well, we're 9-0. What percentage of teams that started 9-0 ended up winning the championship? Yada, yada, yada. I want to start out with an article that I found to be exceedingly illuminating, shall I say. And this is your headline. New York sports books rake in record $2.3 billion in October. I want you to stop and let that sink in. Just the state of New York raked in $2.3 billion in bets in October. Now, with that information in mind, it's a new monthly record for any state in the country. The previous record was 2.1 million in November of 2023. There's something about November, folks. It's Christmas time. I'm going to treat myself to a nonstop gambling binge. It's the second consecutive month and fifth month overall that more than $2 billion has been bet with the New York sports books. No other state has eclipsed $2 billion in a month. The New York sportsbook won a net $176.4 million off the record October handle, nearly a 14% decrease from September's $204.7 million win. Don't you feel sorry for them? They lost money. Only $176.4 million fucking profit that they don't pay taxes on. God damn, isn't that something? I got a message, and it comes from common sense. You want to make America great again? Let's not worry about imposing tariffs on foreign countries' products. Okay? We had all the manufacturing jobs here, goddammit. We gave them away overseas. And all the tariffs do is make those products more expensive to us. Why don't we just do the obvious fucking thing? You want to raise revenues in the country? You want to get the economy stimulated? Tax the fucking billionaires, would ya? Jesus Christ, it goes to both parties. Both parties. Those assholes haven't paid in a lifetime. Every year I got to pay my fair share of taxes. That's how you make America great again. You want to bring down prices of medication? That's easy. Tax Big Pharma. That revenue. You want to tax the whole country? Tax the whole country. Get the revenue. Then we can talk about how the government spends the money which we, the people, should be determining. How to make things more affordable for all of us. Wouldn't that be a great America? At any rate, with the start of the NBA season, the NHL season, it's a nonstop thing, and football running right now, it's a nonstop thing, and baseball having just finished up, it's a nonstop thing. It's a bet-a-thon. That's what it is. And this is what ESPN puts up. The betting public had a more successful run in October in the NFL. DraftKings said in announcing its third quarter earnings this week that customer-friendly sport outcomes in October caused it to adjust its revenue guidance for the fourth quarter. Oh, wah, rookie, wah. Lucy, go get Fred and Ethel and meet me at the club. Fuck you. Fuck DraftKings. Fuck FanDuel. In New York alone, $176.4 million in profit. Who cares if 15 people won? Who gives a shit? And let me explain to you why it matters. And it's the reason I love the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. It's the reason why I'm bullish on the Cavaliers. Because we sit here all the time, and for 22 years I've sat in either a similar chair to this or this chair and basically say the same things. Why in the hell did, fill in the blank, do that? Right now it's Kevin Stefanski or Jimmy Haslam or Andrew Berry, Scott DePodesta, or, earlier it's like, why would Stephen Vogt bring that guy into the game? Why? Or this week, why are we bringing Austin Hedges back? You see, these are the things that I see repetitively. It's like this repetitious disease. And I see it over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day. All the sports teams are the same. Why would the Cleveland Browns spend all that money on Deshaun Watson and guarantee it, regardless of how he performed? I have no idea. Why would the Browns have drafted DTR and insisted on playing him? I don't know. But that's what I love about the Cleveland Cavaliers, because you know what we were doing last year? Why is J.B. Bickerstaff playing these people 40 minutes a night? Why is he doing that? Why hasn't J.B. Bickerstaff drawn up a proper inbounds play? Why didn't J.B. Bickerstaff call a timeout after a team had made a 14-point run against them? And, you come to the conclusion finally that this one came. Why did they bring J.B. Bickerstaff back again? Yeah. So what happens is we start questioning everything. Has Darius Garland become a drug addict? Evan Mobley's never going to be the player that we thought he was going to be. I see my signal is wavering in strength right now. So if you see anything bad on your end, just let me know. I'm always interested in feedback from the chat room. Donovan Mitchell is never going to stay in Cleveland. And that's because you live on Cleveland.com, where your wrist is out and Mary Kay Cabbagehead has the razor blade. That's right. Jimmy Watkins has the fucking razor blade. He's going to inject you with an overdose of fentanyl. And Ron Leffman asked this question. Why don't we hear the same complaints about Dak Prescott? He gets more money than Deshaun guaranteed. Well, that's what this show is really going to be about, Ron. I will have answers. I'm asking questions to start out the program because I know you're all asking the same questions I have for the past 22 years on this fucking program. Okay? You're all asking the same thing. I am a fan of David Mamet, the playwright. You might be familiar with some of his work. The Spanish Prisoner, you might be familiar with. You might be Oleander, That Winslow Boy. David Mamet has made some, State and Maine. There's a line in one of his movies. Money makes the mayor go. Money makes the mayor go. Why don't we hear complaints about Dak Prescott? Because that market is more fucking important to the NFL than Cleveland will ever be. Why didn't they call the hold in the final play of the game that would have changed everything with Cincinnati and the Ravens? And you know I'm not a Bengals fan. But sorry, Ohio. What the fuck? They were already, 3-6? What the fuck? Let's just crush them like a bug. They're in southern Ohio. They're close to Kentucky. They're a bunch of goddamn hillbillies. We don't need Cincinnati and Cleveland. Fuck Ohio. We need the Ravens and Lamar Jackson because that's where the betting money is coming from. They get every call. And it isn't just the Browns. It is a pecking order because the Bengals would get the call over the Browns. There's no question about that. And here's the reason I started thinking why I wanted to do this program. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 9-0. In two of those games, one on the road, one at home. The last one was the most recent game against the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans. And the other one was against the LA Lakers in Cleveland. They didn't want the Cavaliers to be undefeated, now did they? Take a look at the fouls called. I mean, can you believe that we were outscored in both of those games, won by an old, decrepit, washed-up Lakers team that has lost every game since we played them? Okay? Anthony Davis is now injured. LeBron is going on 40 years old, and he can't play the minutes that he used to. They're benching players. And JJ Redick doesn't know what in the hell he's doing. But when they played the Cavaliers, and that was going to be a nationally televised game, it's like, hey, we can make the Lakers win. Now, they really couldn't because we're just flat out better than they are. But they're not going to admit that, not so easily. So here's what they do. They call every foul on the Cavaliers they can. And they figure, you know something? One way or another, we're going to win. Either we make the Lakers win, or we make the game so close that the betting spreads that people will lose their money. And I see less and less people are listening to the show. Go to -40. I don't give a shit. I'm not playing this game anymore. It's all horse shit, folks. It's all horse shit. The Lakers outscored us by 23 points at the free throw line and lost the game by double digits. Now, how is that fucking possible? And you say to yourself, even more so, and how does it happen when we're at home? Nothing better to drub Northeast Ohio by fucking them over in their own building. Let's kill this baby in the crib. So now we go to the New Orleans, and it's like, New Orleans, I mean, they run up and down the floor like wild banshees, and they can get hot and they can get cold. Same thing. outscore us by more than 20 points at the free throw line. In the second half, until the final 2 minutes of the game, they had no fouls called against them in the entire second half until the final 2 minutes of the game. How is that possible? I stared with my own eyes Evan Mobley get 3 offensive rebounds off his own misses, being hacked 3 consecutive times across the arm. So much so, he couldn't even get the ball up to the rim. They kept hacking his arms. The referees turned and looked the other way. Just amazing. And we still beat them. They tried everything they could. But I can tell you this, I don't know what the gambling thing was, how it went for the bettors. I can't tell you that because I don't do that. I have way too much pride. I'm not an addictive person. I don't waste my money on bullshit. But either way, the league wins because they're making money from the gambling sites. The gambling sites make money. That's what it's all about. What do I love about the Cleveland Cavaliers? They're good. They're not good in the eyes of the media. They're not talking about them left and right. You go to ESPN.com and look up and down, and nobody's talking about the 9-0 Cavaliers. Fuck no. And we have to play the team they are talking about, the 6-1 Warriors, because of Take a Nap Curry, who I'm fucking sick of. It's old news. Who cares about Draymond Green? I mean, really now, folks, the last time we had to beat them, they brought Durant into town. They did whatever they could to make sure that Cleveland was not a repeat championship team. You know it, and I know it. They just overloaded them with so much talent, they could not lose. And we're 9-0, and we got to play it now. And everyone's talking about nothing but Golden State, and nobody's talking about the Cavaliers. But here's what I love about the Cavaliers. Cavaliers are playing team basketball. You know, one of the greatest complaints that I've had in my life about superstar NBA basketball, that's the thing that I hated the most. It's like, if you got Luka, if you got Giannis, you know, it's like LeBron. You know them just by their first names, right? Steph. Then they come up with all kinds of names for them. Mamba. You know, they come up with every name that they can come up with to make them unforgettable. Meanwhile, we have a group of players playing in Cleveland, Ohio that nobody gives a shit about. Listen to this. Statistics. Donovan Mitchell is averaging 24 points a game. Darius Garland, 20 points a game. Evan Mobley, 17 points a game. Jared Allen, 15. Karis LeVert, 12.5. Ty Jerome, 9.5. Sam Merrill, 8 points a game. Wade, 7. Niang, 6. Okoro, 5. But you want to know the beauty of it? They ain't playing no people 40, 42 minutes a game. Them days is gone. Mitchell's averaging 30 minutes a game. Garland, 29. Mobley, 29.7. Allen, 30. LeVert, 22. Ty Jerome, 15. He's averaging almost 10 points a game in 15 on the floor. 15 minutes. Merrill's playing 20 minutes. Wade is playing 24 minutes when he's healthy. Niang is playing 19, which is probably 19 too many, but Okoro is playing 20. And that's the beauty of this. We're getting help from so many people and not just scoring the basketball. I mean, we average 123 points a fucking game. But you look at how players are also contributing. Mitchell's dishing out 4 assists a game, Garland 7, Mobley 3, LeVert almost 5, Allen 2 a game, Merrill 1.5, Wade 2 a game. We're distributing the ball, averaging 29 assists per game, and it's everybody touching the ball. That's what I love about the Cavaliers. It isn't just Donovan Mitchell. It isn't like, well, we got to rely on him and Darius Garland. Oh, no. They're passing the ball and getting the ball down low to the big men. They're sharing the ball. And what you saw against the Pelicans in the biggest cheat game of the year yet, they still couldn't bring the teamwork of the Cleveland Cavaliers down, because no matter how hard they tried, the Cavaliers kept working harder, surging forward, and having these, what they've done all season thus far, scoring a bunch of points in a short period of time, which they did to the Lakers and buried them. Really, by the end of the first quarter, the Lakers were buried and they couldn't come back. And you saw every time that the Pelicans kept coming back by shooting free throws, the Cavaliers would have a surge and go back ahead again to protect them against the next series of bad calls that were made against them. Now, why the Pelicans? But you got a one-name player, Zion. Fat fuck. The guy's injured all the time. 40 game a season, Zion. The Pelicans, who've never won anything, they're ahead of the Cavaliers in the eyes of the league, in the eyes of the betting communities. That's where we are on the ladder, on the rung of the ladder. Behind the Pelicans, for Christ's sake. And when the game got just dangerously close toward the end of the game, for like the 5th time in the game, they kept bringing, it was like reanimating Frankenstein. They kept bringing him back to life. Then it was Donovan Mitchell time. Spider went to work. And he and Wondham back-to-back times. And then the Cavaliers made defensive stops. And that was the end of that. And look, I was watching a direct feed, all right, from New Orleans. That place was lucky if it was a third full. Nobody was watching the Pelicans play. The people in New Orleans don't even care about them or the Saints or anything else that's happening in New Orleans except the French Quarter. Nobody cares. But somebody did. Could it be the people who are making $176.4 million in New York alone? Why don't we extrapolate that out to 50 states? Why don't we do that? With that much money on the line, you cannot tell me that there aren't unsavory people with unsavory interests involved in this whole thing. And the 9-0 means more than just winning 9 games to me. It's a thumb in the eye of these cocksuckers. That's what it is. It's like, ugh. And that's where he comes in. He and I have been talking. Anything that hurts gambling, anything that hurts gamblers, I'm all for. Because the gamblers are self-destructive idiots who are bored to death with their lives and have nothing better to do. And that's why there's somebody there to take their money. And as for this legalized gambling, you know what that is. How is it that everything that at one time was illegal now being embraced. And all it does is hurt the public. How is that possible? Remember when they regulated gambling to the degree that Pete Rose never got into the Baseball Hall of Fame? You remember that? Well, you gambled on your own team. You're out of there. Show you. Amazing, isn't it? Just fucking amazing. We're going to bring Steven in here. Hi, Steven.
Hey, Moo. How's it going? I just got back from Dallas. I went to 3 Mavericks games.
I'm sorry. Dallas is a piece of shit town. Piece of shit. America's team.
Well, hey.
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to come and make a point on here because
yes.
I just want to say the Cavs are fun, exciting young to watch.
They are.
Moo?
Yeah. I think we're cutting in and out maybe a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Let me get on my phone. I'm going to get on my phone. Buzz me back in because I got a couple things I want to tell you real quick.
Okay, cool. From my perspective, let's legalize marijuana and make it the easiest thing in the world so that way people just won't care. It's the opiate of the masses. Why do we have a problem with fentanyl? Why was every politician talking about fentanyl? Because now they realize they probably can legalize that because nobody will be paying attention to whose hand is in the fucking cookie jar. You want to fix things? You want to fix things in this goddamn country? It ain't going to happen with the Democrats. It ain't going to happen with the Republicans. It isn't going to happen with a bunch of oligarchs running the goddamn country. And they all have their fingers in this gambling pie, believe me. That's just one little thing. You don't want to know the rest. I don't either. But there's something pure about watching a team that actually shares the basketball. And it's like, God, we told you to get rid of JB, and I don't know that Kenny Atkinson is the next Albert Einstein. He's sure doing better. I mean, how many times this year have you said, yeah, bingo, he pressed the right button. He took back-to-back timeouts when it was important that he did so. He's actually thinking. What a great concept. That's why they're winning, partially. Did you see him jumping in the air, pumping his fist, Kenny Atkinson? When Evan Mobley blocks the shot, dribbles down all the way, 82 fucking feet, all the way. Down the key, slams it with his left hand, finishes. And there's Kenny Atkinson going, yeah. You know what JB Bickerstaff would have been doing? You dribble the ball too high. Yeah, but what? And he would have been yelling at the officials about the fouls and getting multiple technical fouls. That's what JB Bickerstaff would have done, the stupid fuck. Now we have a guy who's actually got his head in the game, is encouraging his young players. And maybe that's all they needed. Maybe they really are good. Maybe Evan Mobley is a unicorn. Now I'm not going to tell you he's Kevin Garnett. I'm not going to, but maybe he is a special player. And that we're finally maximizing a little bit of what we're getting out of the young man. And he's got the confidence now to put his shoulder down, go to the rim, finish. It's awesome. And watching Darius Garland play, yeah, he's going to make some turnovers, and some passes are a little sloppy when he tries to get a little too fancy. But, man, he's shooting 47% from three-point line. No lie Molokai. And he's playing well. And Kenny Atkinson knows he doesn't have to have those two players on the court all that frequently to start out the game and at the end of the game. But in the middle, man, we got that big rotation. We got Ty Jerome, who's playing the Andre Miller role, the guy with no hops and no fucking speed, but has and desire. You know what he's like? He's like Delhi with a slightly better shot and more size. That's what he's like. He'd be considered slow by NBA standards, but he's sure doing a job for the Cavaliers off the bench. Karis LeVert's being reined in. Instead of forcing everything like he was under JB Bickerstaff and playing an excessive number of minutes and getting hurt to the point where his agent wanted him out of Cleveland and wanted Donovan out of Cleveland, same agent. Instead, LeVert's taking open looks. His mechanics look smoother. He's playing more to his own pace and tempo. There's less of that daffy ducking that he does, wiggling around, dribbling the ball in one spot. In fact, you're not seeing Evan Mobley getting the ball and putting it on the floor. He's going right up. He's going down the lane, and he's going up with the shot. None of this head and shoulders shit. That's all the head coach. The development of Mosley has been fantastic. His more aggressive handling looks a lot better. And the bottom line is what JB couldn't figure out, and never will because JB's JB, is that Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are two completely different players, and you can't play both of them in the post. I know. You'd have to be brain damaged to think you could, but that's what he was doing. Everybody knew that Evan Mobley was a more effective player from the elbow than he was in the paint, but he kept forcing him into the paint to play that role. He would play Mobley at a different time than he'd play Allen. Well, now they're playing on the court together and having no problems whatsoever because Mobley is actually shooting some threes and he's starting out at the top of the key. And if he sees he has the advantage to get a running step with his long stride past the person who's guarding him, he's going to go up and off the backboard. None of this trying to swish everything crap. He's gone fundamental. It's like watching a young Tim Duncan. Use the backboard, son. Sure enough, he is. And it's interesting looking at within Mobley's 8.2 rebounds and 17 points a game. He will be a 20-point-a-game scorer, and he will be a double-digit rebounder. But the fact that you're getting 3 assists from him a game, as well as his 2 blocks, means something. And his turnovers are down to 1.8 a game, and he's handling the ball more. So you go figure. You can figure it out yourself. If you're looking at the field goal percentages, I mean, Garland's shooting 52% overall. So is Mobley shooting 52% overall. Jared Allen, 69%. And the beauty is, if you're looking at 3-point percentage, Mobley's hitting 37% of them. Garland's hitting 47%, and Mitchell's hitting 39.5%. Hello, Christopher Milton. Happy recent birthday to you. Hope everything is well by you. So, and Sam Merrill hasn't even gotten cooking yet. He's shooting a 40.4% from three-point land as he's heating up, 44% from the floor. But the minutes he's giving us, it's really impressive. Sam Merrill is doing some things that nobody thought he would be able to do. And that is the team has an overall plus number when he's on the floor. How's that for amazing? Playing 20 minutes a game and getting 8 points doesn't tell the whole story. He's getting almost 2 rebounds a game. He's getting defensive rebounds. He's getting a steal a game. He was a slow white boy, remember? He's getting the job done. So, all the questions that I've asked through the years about sports teams in Cleveland, and now I'm going to turn for a brief moment onto the Cleveland Browns. Why do we have a baseball guy determining strategy? Why do we have a money guy who's a front office guy who knows nothing about talent? Why do we have an Ivy League guy who brought in a new offensive coordinator and then promptly didn't use his system? Why do we have an owner who lies about everything and doesn't pay his bills? And you're wondering what's wrong with the Browns? That's what's wrong with the Browns. Make bad decisions. Bad decisions. And when the Cavaliers did, I think the bravest thing the Cavaliers did, and I'd be the first to tell you that based on the model of the NBA, I was like disappointed. All Cavaliers fans, but we stayed pat with what we had. We made no moves to improve the team. None. We are going to run it back with the same group of people. And the only difference would be JB would be gone. People are saying that's not enough. Well, let me explain to you. Nothing will ever be enough. I just want everyone to understand that if New York State, and let me be real blunt about this, why do you think the Yankees were in the World Series? Why do you think the strike zone was more friendly for the New York Yankees? Why do you think the Guardians could never beat the Yankees in a series that really mattered? Because there's $1 billion, 2 point, how much was it again? Let me run back the number from the beginning of the show. $2.3 billion bet in New York in 1 month. You're telling me that that doesn't have something to do with the outcome of what's going to become of the New York Knicks? Oh, they'll be there all right, because they have to be. It's somebody's business that he's there and they're there. And Tom Thibodeau couldn't coach a team out of a paper bag, for God's sakes. But all the teams that you expect will be there in the end. And you want to talk about getting screwed, you wait until the Cavaliers find their way into the playoffs again, and they'll screw them. And then they'll start Stephen A. Smith and all of their pawns talking on these stations and networks saying, well, they choked again. Cleveland disappointed again. And it's all the way it's supposed to be, because the people running this only care about the markets that make them the most money. Just like Elon Musk only cares about what makes him the most money, that Jeff Bezos only cares about what makes him the most money and what keeps them not paying any taxes to pay their fair share. The right to be an American, you pay taxes, you cocksuckers. You want to know who should go to jail? It's those people. And they got us fighting with one another about a stupid election, which means nothing in the great scheme of any of it. Whoever's in that White House is serving those oligarchs. They are. Just like we have in sports now. It's all predetermined. And you don't, I'm glad that it becomes so obvious over time, doesn't it? That the football in college football, we knew that only a few teams mattered. And now it's just like the legalization of drugs and gambling. It's the same thing. Yeah. We're not even trying to hide it anymore. Here it is. The top 10 football teams in college football, and that's who's playing for the national championship every year for the rest of time. And that's what's happened. How can you get into a college athletic situation? And who's going to give a shit in the end about March Madness? Who's going to care about the one time of the year where upsets could possibly happen? I don't care about the SEC. I don't care about Ohio State. Sorry. I don't care about Alabama. I don't care about LSU. I don't care about Clemson or Georgia. I don't give a shit. And why Colorado all of a sudden? Could it be gambling? They're actually talking about Deion Sanders' team, no matter how many games they lose, being one of those special programs. Ah, somebody is backstage. Hey.
Hey, Moo. Sorry, I had to get on my phone because for some reason StreamYard on the computer tends to lapse. I don't know why, but a lot of people have been complaining about that. Oh, I just want to say a couple of things.
Sure.
Number one, I was against the move of Texas and OU joining the SEC for this exact reason. I know Texas is a moneymaker. Oklahoma is. The SEC brand is owned by Disney, who is also owns ESPN, blah, blah, blah.
It's incestuous.
Yeah. So I think Texas should have stayed in the Big 12 and recruited not only the schools that came in there like Colorado and the BYUs, Arizona State, Cincinnati. They should have brought in Notre Dame and promoted the Big 12 instead of just making a super conference with a bunch of conference that doesn't really matter after the fact. Instead of making just one big super conference. So I was against that. Number two, the Cavaliers are a fun team to watch. Very young team. I like that Merrill kid y'all got. What's his name? Sam Merrill?
Sam Merrill.
Evan Mobley, his playmaking ability skills has improved. His turnover ratio has declined. I like Levert, T.Y. Jerome, Darius Garland, Imoni Bates, Jared Allen, Isaac Okoro. I can go on and on. Max Struss. I can go on and on down the list, but they are a fun team to watch. And if somehow the Cavs win today against the Warriors, I looked at their upcoming schedule. They got the Nets, the Bulls, the Sixers, then they got the Bulls again, and then they got the Hornets. So they could go 15-0 by the time they head to Boston, which would be part of that stupid group stage, that stupid playing cup that no one cares about. They call the Emirates Cup. That'll be Tuesday, November 19th. I think the Cavaliers can go 15-0 going into that game. But they have to win the night against the Warriors. I think if they beat the Warriors tonight, they're going to be more talked about. They're going to be 10-0. And it's going to force people to start talking about the Cavs. But I agree with what you're saying, Moo. It's a shame that the Cavaliers are the only unbeaten team. They're the best team currently in the NBA, right as of right now.
Your volume just dropped. There you go.
No one talks about them. They're the best team in the NBA. No one talks about the Cavs. And it goes to the old saying, is the same with the Browns. It seems like to me people don't want them to win. And I hate to even throw the fan bases in on this too, but I think even some Cavs fans and Browns fans or the city of Cleveland also like to stroke the idea behind the misery. And it just seems like no one wants them to win.
Well, I think what it amounts to is that people become comfortable with the situation so that if they can piss and moan, that's that. And they come to accept whatever the bad news is, whatever the bad calls are. They just end up, just accepting it. And it's no different than what happens in our country, that people are just expecting whatever it is that they get. They'll take whatever they're given. And it is a sad state of affairs when people have to settle for less and are fighting, and I want to say something so that people understand. I should have said it at the beginning of the program. Congratulations. If you voted for Donald Trump and that's what you wanted, congratulations. I don't, it's a goddamn, the bottom line is that more people did not vote. And the reason is because they don't matter. They feel they don't matter anymore.
Nope.
And now what you're getting are people fighting with one another. And it's one of the saddest things. It's like, I'd understand if people are thrilled that their candidate won the presidency, that they should start thinking about how, in fact, in reality, to make America great again, as opposed to who we're going to throw in jail, who we're going to indict, how we're going to make the other party suffer. It's totally unnecessary. The bad guys control both parties, folks.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are consistently making the payday. Not you, not your family, not your relatives, nobody you know. And believe me, they don't have to gamble on football games. They don't have to
No.
do that
No.
because they're making so much money hand over fist. They have a sure thing.
They could just make and create laws that'll just affect our lives while making their lives enhanced. So that's what it's all about. It's about power. It's a power dynamic.
So, without getting, because I'm not, there's a feedback on this line, Stephen.
Okay, hold on.
From my perspective, no sour grapes. An election is an election, and the people voted. And I'm not going to say it's rigged because people like to say that when they lose. You just got to take responsibility, and you got to try to change the way things are. And if you can't, then you're better off being a boat against the current than one that just sails with it. Because where the current takes you will fuck you, it'll fuck your family, it'll fuck your future, and it will fuck the future of this country.
Absolutely.
Go against the current, but not violently, folks. Don't be threatening violence against people. Be happy if the Republicans won and that was important to them. Be happy for them. Don't, we're fighting each other. And the oligarchs are laughing at us because their strategy is working. Divide and conquer. Please. And the same thing for Cleveland fans. You want to accept your team as a loser? Well, you do nothing to change the way things work. At least go against the current. Don't gamble and give them more money. Are you stupid?
Hey, Moo, how's my end still? Is it still kind of shaky?
No, I was just hearing my voice banging back into my headset.
Oh, okay. Is it still doing that?
Not now, no.
Okay, because I mute myself after I talk to see if maybe that helps. But no, I just want to say, even on your show, I noticed when the Browns lose, you get like hundreds of views on your live stream, and then when the Browns win, you get like maybe 10 or 15, and no one's commenting. And it's like, it just gives us that narrative. It's just like, well, let's just wait till the Browns lose to see what Moo has to say, because it's just more exciting rather than to see my team win and congratulate and lift them up, because that's just boring, and it's
more interesting to read angry stuff on Twitter, than it is to really be constructive.
So it just gives a narrative. It's just it just seems like we've just become accustomed to how things are for so long, because the Browns have always been known as a team that just loses more than they win. Same with the Cavaliers, and now that they're winning, it's like people don't know how to take that in, or they're like, oh, that's boring. It's like, dude, I'd rather win than lose. I mean, if you go to New England or if you go to the Chicago Bulls, they've had a history, Boston Celtics, Lakers, they don't want to be losing. There's no storylines really off of that. But it seems like for Cleveland sports, it seems like the only cool storylines is the same old Browns, the same old Cavs. Who's going to get fired? What are we going to see what Moohead has to say today? And it's like, let's go troll him for an hour in the comment section. Let's
people are bored because they're not. Wouldn't it be nice if it were a productive world and people were making the money they deserve to make? And
absolutely.
They could afford some luxuries in life. Wouldn't that be a nice thing?
And you weren't being taxed to death. Yeah.
Yeah. And all it would take would be for the wealthiest people to pay taxes, not asking them to pay more percentage wise, pay the same percentage we do. That's all. And that, if you don't see that as fairness, I mean, you can go on about abortion all you want. You can go on about inflation all you want. You can, we don't have enough money to cover this, and that's why the prices are going up. If you got more money into the government, into Washington, and you controlled how you spent it properly, there would be no problems.
Moo, they tax us to death, and most of that money just sits in idle. They just launder our tax money. It finds a way back in their pockets, or just hedge funds that ends up giving them kickbacks or whatever, or it just sits there. It doesn't go into the infrastructure, bridges. I mean, how many times do you drive around your neighborhood and see potholes that look like they've been there since the dinosaurs hit? But they say, oh, well, our taxes are going to repair infrastructure. I'm like, well, I've been driving around here for years and I don't see any repairs. which makes you wonder where our money's going, you know?
Well, it isn't going back into the system. It's going into people's pockets.
Exactly.
And the sad part of all of it is that people have the whole idea of America. I mean, historically, was people were being taxed to death by the British. That was what the Tea Party was all about. And here we are, and we're the working people, and the jobs have been shipped out of the country.
Yep.
And we're still getting the shit taxed out of us. And the guys who ship the jobs out aren't paying a dime.
And guess what? Not only are they getting tax breaks, but they're also investing in real estate. And that's why we see a lot of these residential neighborhoods, condos, apartment complexes being built, because they're literally taking the land, and then your property value goes up, and you wonder, why is my property taxes going up? Well, because they built a condo right next to you. The idea is to chase you out of your home. You end up selling. Who buys it? BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all those large executive firms, right? And so the idea is they're going to own everything. They're going to take literally 4 or 5 companies are going to take the entire housing market in the United States, the way it's going.
Yeah, and then the whole thing is that you don't have a chance to get ahead in the world.
No.
And so you have a feeling of hopelessness. And the only way you're going to make money is if you strike it rich by gambling on something to get that one-time hit that you're because you can't get it at your job because they're not giving you a fucking raise. They're not. There's no upward mobility. They've taken jobs out of the marketplace. It's terrible.
But Mr. Muad, here's the thing. If the idea is everybody should pay their fair share of taxes, then why should any of us have to pay if nobody else is paying? If a certain portion of people are not paying, why should we have to pay? And another thing, if why should we have to pay taxes when they could just print money up like the way they're doing now, and they could just use that money to pay for the taxes?
Right, because that would just again everything
I understand.
Inflationary, and what they do is they cut the supply side off, and so the famed shortage of toilet paper that made people fight in the aisles at Walmart.
It's about control. That's all it is.
Unfortunately, that's what it comes to.
But hey, the Cavs are exciting to watch, though, and I hope they remain unbeaten. If they beat the Warriors tonight, I think that's going to send shockwaves around the league. A young team beating a champion style caliber team with Curry and all them, a team that's well talked about right now. I think the Warriors are 8-1 or something like that. So they're going to beat the Cavs streak. If the Cavs get this win, Moohead, I think they'll go 15-0. I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead, but the games against the Nets, the Bulls twice, the Sixers, who were
I'm just having fun watching the season unfold.
Yeah.
I'm watching a team. I like the attitude.
Yep.
I like the head coach really being involved energetically and sharing the ball and making those players better players. That's what any sports fan should hope for. And but you're not reading anything positive about the only undefeated team that's out there. You're not reading a damn thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers. So
if Cavs win today, they're going to go 15-0 heading up to the game at Boston on November 19th.
All right,
mark my words. They will.
That's your prediction. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing is a headline here I wanted to read. Reasons you should watch all 8 of the Browns' remaining games. Okay. Let me be real clear about this. It is unhealthy to get involved with the Cleveland Browns in a social media sense. The only reason you should watch the game is not because you put money down on it. The reason you should watch it is because you're a fan and you want to cheer the team on, even though they're having a real hard go of it. You don't like or agree who's running the team and how it's being run. The reason you should watch is because you're a fan and you derive some satisfaction out of it. If you derive no satisfaction out of it and you're watching it anyway, then you're self-flagellating and you're beating the shit out of yourself. And that's not healthy. So there's only one reason to watch, and that's because you're interested. You want to see your team win because they feel good. And instead of, booing your players and cheering their injuries and doing whatever shit, if you're not in this for a positive reason, there's not going to be a positive outcome. So,
Yeah.
and I'll watch the remaining 8 games, but I have no expectation. And honestly, I look forward to the Cavaliers games because they're playing the game the way I like to see a game
Yeah.
played. There's a reason why there's 5 men on the floor at one time, and that's so they can share it. Not, and you look at the Pelicans, who really deserve to lose that game for so many reasons.
Oh, they
They were
suck.
coming down.
They're overrated.
They were actually, Alvarado was making a lot of threes, and Ingram made a lot of threes, but they were just out there jacking. There was no team ball. They were just hoping to hit a hot streak and throwing the ball up from behind the arc. And it was just, 52 pickup. There was no coaching involved. There was no strategy involved. And they got away with countless fouls and they still didn't win. I like good, clean basketball. I like crisp passing. It's like you give up your contested shot to give somebody a clear shot, even if Niang misses it, which is more often than not. He's the only one whose stats really bother me. I'm still getting that feedback from you.
Okay, I'll mute myself.
But you look at the stats, and I guess the stats don't lie. Niang, if you're looking at he's only shooting 33% from 3, and he's only shooting 42% from the floor, and he's only shooting 50% from the free throw line, which he barely ever gets to anyway. And he's the weakest link of the team. And eventually it will come to pass because Max Strus is coming back at some point in time. Max will be back, and we don't need an overweight, slow guy who's underachieving. Niang is going to drop on the rotation. What we're getting with Isaac Okoro is we're using him in the way that is the most effective way, which is defensively. He'll be out on the floor just working his ass off for the minutes he gets on the floor. And he's not afraid to shoot the 3 now. And and he doesn't have to stay on the floor for long periods of time. But again, he's shooting 50% from behind the arc in limited opportunities, but they're good, clean looks. And that's what we get from Okoro is when he's on the floor, we get some of those great spurts because he and Ty Jerome are stealing basketballs, diving on the floor, giving up their bodies, doing whatever they can to get their hands back on the basketball for their teammates. And you got to love that. And Christopher, you're right. You don't care if they come up short as long as they get a fair shake, But there is nothing fair. Major League Baseball, the way it's structured, is not fair when teams have 3 to 4 times the payroll of other teams and sign all the free agents. Right off the bat, it is corrupt. Anything that is based in New York or Los Angeles is going to be corrupt because it only takes the bigger market into account. And there is no real parity in baseball. And in basketball, you can get good players playing for you. Hell, LeBron James played in Cleveland all those years, and we've seen some, Kevin Love joined up, and now we're seeing Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. We've seen some, and Kyrie Irving. We've seen some really fine players come down the pike playing for the Cavaliers, but it's not like they're not going to have a chance when they're put up against the teams that make all the money for the gambling establishment, for the networks. It's unfortunately, there is no parity because once you get into the playoffs, the officiating changes and teams that are expected to win move on. And it's really unfortunate, but everything is stacked in one way or another. And enjoy good basketball, support the Cavaliers, and have fun watching the game. I got to get out of here because my time's up today. I appreciate the people who hung out and listened to this tirade, but it's just in my mind time to accept the fact of what's going on and to go against the current and just fill the air with positivity and not negativity when the team that we cheer for does something absolutely right. That's like the best thing in the world. And applaud it. Be positive. No negativity regarding a team that stayed pat and developed their players, brought a coach in who could raise their confidence level up and make them better men and better players. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again with you. Oh my God. When will it be next? On Monday. I have the weekend off. Isn't that lovely? So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.